The crystal walls of the classroom gleamed under the bright lights. Young aliens sat in neat rows, their different shapes and colors making the room look like a strange zoo. Some had scales, others had shells, and a few looked like giant bugs. But they all had one thing in common. They wanted to learn how to kill humans. Instructor Veltar walked to the front of the room. His lizard-like skin was covered in old scars from many battles. Metal parts replaced his left arm and right eye. When he moved, the metal made soft clicking sounds. The students became quiet. They knew Veltar had fought humans before and lived to tell about it. "Today we finish our study of human weakness," Veltar said. His voice was rough like broken glass. "For 6 months you have learned about these soft creatures. Now we test what you know." A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a human soldier, tall, pink-skinned, with only 2 arms and 2 legs. The alien students laughed. The human looked so simple compared to them. Cadet Creeks raised one of his 4 arms. His bug-like eyes glowed with excitement. "Teacher, why do humans even try to fight us? They are so weak." Veltar smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Good question, Crix. Humans are weak in many ways. They need to sleep every day, they get tired quickly, they only live for about 80 years, and worst of all, they care about each other too much." More laughter filled the room. Cadet Neth, who looked like a giant slug, made a wet sound that was his way of laughing. "They cry when other humans die. How can warriors fight if they cry?" "Exactly," Veltar said. He touched a button, and the hologram changed. Now it showed a human city with tall buildings and flying cars. But do not think humans are completely stupid. They have some tricks. They are good at making tools, they learn fast, and they never give up even when they should. The hologram changed again. This time it showed a space battle. Human ships fought against alien ships. The human ships were smaller and looked weaker, but they moved in strange ways. "Watch this," Veltar said. "This is from the Battle of Kepler 442b 3 months ago. See how the human ships fly? They do not follow normal battle rules. They act crazy, like animals." The students watched as human ships dove straight at alien vessels, taking terrible damage but still fighting. Some human ships even crashed into alien ships on purpose, destroying both. "This is why humans are dangerous," Veltar continued. "Not because they are strong, but because they do not think like us. They will die to save their friends. They will fight when they cannot win. This makes them hard to predict." Cadet Crix clicked his mandibles together, a sign he was thinking hard. "So how do we beat them, teacher?" Veltar's metal eye glowed brighter. "By using their weaknesses against them. Humans love each other too much, so we take their families prisoner. Then they stop fighting to save them. Humans need sleep, so we attack them when they rest. Humans get emotional, so we make them angry and they make mistakes." The instructor walked between the rows of students. "Remember, humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. They know many ways to kill, but they have never fought us before. We know all their tricks, but they know nothing about us." A new hologram appeared. It showed different types of human weapons. Guns, bombs, even simple knives. Human weapons are primitive but effective. They still use chemical explosives and metal bullets. Very old technology. Our energy shields stop most of their attacks. Cadet Neth raised a slimy tentacle. "Teacher, what about human ships? Are they dangerous?" "Their ships are fast but weak," Veltar answered. "Human ship hulls are made of simple metal. Our plasma cannons cut through them easily. The biggest human warship has less firepower than our smallest fighter." The class continued for another hour. Veltar showed more battle recordings, explained human tactics, and taught the students how to counter each move. The aliens learned that humans like to attack in straight lines, that they always tried to protect their wounded, and that they would retreat if they took heavy losses. "Now," Veltar said as the lesson neared its end, "we will have our final test. Each of you will plan an attack on a human colony. You must use everything we learned to show me how you would destroy the humans quickly and completely." The students buzzed with excitement. This was what they had been waiting for, a chance to prove they could beat the famous human warriors. Crix was the first to present his plan. "I would attack their power stations first," he said proudly. "Humans need electricity for everything. Without power, their weapons do not work and their cities go dark. Then I would use poison gas. Humans need to breathe oxygen, so the gas will kill them all." Veltar nodded approvingly. "Good. You use their weakness against them. What about civilians?" "Kill them all," Crix said without hesitation. "Dead humans cannot breed more humans." Other students presented their plans. Neth wanted to attack human food supplies because humans needed to eat every day. Another student planned to destroy human hospitals because humans got sick easily. Each plan focused on human weaknesses that the aliens had learned about. As the presentations continued, none of the aliens noticed the small air vent near the ceiling. The vent was just big enough for sound to travel through, and 3 floors below, in a dark prison cell, someone was listening to every word. Corporal Lee June sat on the cold floor of his cell, his back against the wall. For months he had heard the aliens teaching their students how to kill his people. At first he had been angry. Then he had been scared. Now he was something else entirely. He was learning. Every weakness the aliens thought humans had. Every tactic they planned to use, every strategy they considered perfect. Lee June heard it all. And he was remembering every single word. The young Marine smiled in the darkness. The aliens thought they knew everything about humans. They thought they had all the answers. But they had made one big mistake. They had let a human listen to their lessons. Above him, Veltar finished the class. "Tomorrow we begin practical exercises. Soon you will lead the final attack against the human colonies. The war will end, and the galaxy will belong to us." The students cheered and filed out of the classroom. None of them knew that their greatest enemy had just learned all their secrets, and none of them suspected that their perfect plan was about to become their greatest weakness. In his cell, Lee June began to plan. He had work to do. 3 months earlier, Lee June had been a different person. He was Corporal Lee June of the Human Marine Corps, and he believed he was going to die on Kepler 442b. The battle had started at dawn. Human colonists on the planet had sent out a distress call when alien ships appeared in their sky. Lee June's unit was part of the rescue force that jumped through space to help them, but the aliens were ready. Lee June remembered running through the burning streets of New Busan Colony. Buildings fell around him as alien plasma beams cut through them like hot knives through butter. His squad leader, Sergeant Park Min, had been vaporized right next to him. One moment Park was giving orders. The next moment he was gone. "Fall back. Fall back," Captain O'Bin had shouted over the radio. But there was nowhere to run. The aliens had surrounded the colony. Their ships filled the sky like angry metal clouds. Lee June had found himself trapped in a collapsed building with 3 other Marines. Private Kim Soo was bleeding from a head wound. Private Yoon Da kept asking for his mother. Private Choi Han just stared at the wall and said nothing. The building shook as something big landed outside. Through a crack in the wall, Lee June could see alien soldiers. They looked like giant praying mantises, but with metal armor and energy weapons. One of them pointed at the building and made clicking sounds. "They know we're here," Kim Soo whispered. "The aliens did something strange then. Instead of blasting the building apart, they used some kind of sleep gas." Lee June remembered the sweet smell filling the air. He tried to hold his breath, but it was no use. His vision went fuzzy and he fell down. When he woke up, he was in a cage. The cage was on an alien ship. Lee June could tell because the walls curved in a way that human ships never did, and everything was lit with purple light that hurt his eyes. His 3 friends were in cages next to him. At least they were all alive. A new alien came to look at them. This one was different from the soldiers. It had smooth skin like a dolphin and big black eyes. It wore a white coat like a doctor. "Interesting," the alien said in perfect English. 4 specimens in good condition. The xenobiology department will be pleased." "What do you want with us?" Lee June had asked. The alien tilted its head. Want? We want to study you, of course. Humans are fascinating creatures, so violent yet so fragile, so primitive yet so stubborn. We have much to learn. They were taken to a research facility on a planet the aliens called Nexus Prime. Li Jun learned this from the signs written in alien symbols, though he could not read them yet. The facility was huge, with tall towers that reached into the purple sky. His friends were taken to different parts of the building. Li Jun was put in a cell in the lower levels. The cell was small but not uncomfortable. It had a bed, a toilet, and a small window that looked out at an alien garden. 3 times a day, guards brought him food that tasted like cardboard but kept him healthy. For the first week, scientists came to study him. They took blood samples, measured his body, and asked him thousands of questions. Li Jun answered some questions and ignored others. He told them his name and rank, but nothing about human military secrets. Dr. Yoon Hana was brought to his cell on the 8th day. She was a human woman, maybe 40 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She'd been captured 6 months earlier from a science station. The aliens wanted her to help them understand human biology. They think if I help them study humans, they will let me live, she told Li Jun quietly. I pretend to cooperate, but I tell them nothing important. Dr. Yoon became his only friend in that terrible place. She was allowed to visit his cell to monitor his health, but really, they just talked. She told him about the alien facility, what she had learned about their technology, and most importantly, what she had discovered about their weaknesses. They are very proud, she said during one visit. They think they are the smartest beings in the galaxy. This makes them sloppy. They do not guard their secrets well because they think humans are too stupid to understand them. It was Dr. Yoon who first noticed the air vent. Sound travels through the building's ventilation system, she whispered. I can hear conversations from other floors in my cell. Can you hear anything? Li Jun listened carefully that night. At first, he heard nothing but the hum of machines, but then he heard voices speaking in the alien language. He could not understand the words, but he could tell they were having some kind of class. The next day, Dr. Yoon brought him a small device she had built from scraps. It translates alien languages, she said proudly. I have been working on it for months. Hide it well. With the translator, Li Jun could finally understand what was happening 3 floors above him. The aliens were running a military academy, and they were teaching students how to kill humans. At first, listening to the classes made Li Jun angry. The aliens talked about humans like they were insects to be stepped on. They laughed at human emotions and called human technology primitive. They made plans to destroy human colonies and kill human families. But as weeks turned into months, Li Jun's anger turned into something more useful. He began to understand that the aliens were giving away all their secrets. Every tactic they planned to use, every weakness they thought humans had, every strategy they considered perfect, they were teaching it all to their students. And Li Jun was taking notes. He memorized every lesson. He learned about alien ship designs, alien weapons, alien psychology. He discovered that aliens were very bad at changing their plans when something unexpected happened. He found out that most alien species could not see well in darkness. He learned that aliens were terrified of irrational human behavior because they could not predict it. Most importantly, he learned that the aliens were planning a final attack on the remaining human colonies. They had been building a huge fleet for months. Once their students graduated from the academy, they would lead this fleet in what they called the last battle of the human war. Dr. Yoon helped him understand the alien technology. She had been studying their computers and communication systems. I think I can build a transmitter, she said one day. Something small that could send a message to human space. But I need parts. Getting parts was not easy. Dr. Yoon had to steal them slowly, taking small pieces from different machines so no one would notice. Li Jun helped by distracting guards when she needed to work. They were both taking huge risks. It took 2 months to build the transmitter. It was no bigger than Li Jun's fist, made from alien computer parts and pieces of medical equipment. It could only send one message before it would burn out, and the message had to be short. What will you tell them? Dr. Yoon asked. Li Jun had thought about this for weeks. He could not explain everything in one short message. But he could give human command the most important information: the fact that the aliens had a detailed plan to destroy all human colonies, and that this plan could be turned against them. On the night before the alien student's final exam, Lee Jun activated the transmitter. His hand shook as he typed the message into the device. This was his one chance to save his people. The message was simple. This is Corporal Lee Jun, Human Marine Corps. I am prisoner on alien planet Nexus Prime. Have been monitoring alien military academy for 3 months. They have detailed anti-human battle plan. Plan has major weaknesses that can be exploited. Sending all tactical data now. Use this information. Turn their own tactics against them. They do not expect humans to know their strategies. This is our chance to win. He attached all the tactical information he had gathered: alien ship specifications, battle formations, attack patterns, psychological profiles, everything. The data burst lasted exactly 17 seconds. Then the transmitter melted into a lump of slag. Lee Jun hid the remains and went to sleep. He did not know if his message had been received. He did not know if anyone would believe it. But he had done everything he could. The next morning, he heard Veltar teaching the final class to his students. The aliens were confident and excited. They thought they had the perfect plan to destroy humanity. They had no idea that their perfect plan was about to become their worst nightmare. Lee Jun smiled in his dark cell. Soon the aliens would learn what it really meant to fight humans. Admiral Park Day was drinking his morning coffee when the universe changed. He sat in his office on New Sol Station, the largest human military base in the outer colonies. Through his window, he could see Earth's sun, just a bright dot among millions of other stars. The war with the aliens had been going badly for months. Human colonies kept falling, and no one knew why the alien tactics had become so effective. His aide, Lieutenant Nam Ki, burst through the door without knocking. Nam Ki was usually very calm, but now his face was white with excitement. "Admiral, you need to see this," Nam Ki said, holding out a data tablet. "We just received an intelligence transmission. It came through the emergency military channel." Park Day took the tablet and read the message header. His eyebrows went up. "Corporal Lee Jun, I remember him. He was listed as missing in action at Kepler 442b. Sir, this message came from deep in alien space, and the data attached to it." Nam Ki paused, trying to find the right words. "Sir, it's everything. Complete alien battle plans, ship specifications, tactical doctrines, psychological profiles. It's like having their entire military handbook." Park Day read Lee Jun's message carefully. Then he read it again. On the third reading, he started to smile. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just spotted prey. "Get me Commander Kim Tae," Park Day ordered, "and Dr. Choi Min from the Xenotechnology Department. Also, I want the heads of intelligence, tactical planning, and special operations in my office in 30 minutes. "Yes, sir. But Admiral, should we verify this information first? It seems almost too good to be true." Park Day looked at the data scrolling across the tablet screen. Ship designs, battle formations, weapon specifications, command structures. It was incredibly detailed. Either someone had spent months gathering this intelligence, or it was an elaborate alien trick. "Run it through our computers," Park Day said. "Cross-reference everything with our battle records from the past year. If this is real, the pattern should match what we have seen in combat." While his staff worked to verify the intelligence, Park Day studied the tactical information. What he read made his blood run cold, then hot with anger. The aliens had been treating the war like a training exercise. They had students practicing on real human colonies. Every attack, every strategy, every brilliant tactical move the aliens had made. It was all just homework assignments for alien military cadets. But anger was not useful. Park Day pushed his emotions aside and focused on the opportunity. If this intelligence was real, it meant the aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had taught their students everything about fighting humans, but they had assumed humans would never learn their methods. Commander Kim Tae arrived first. She was a small woman with quick eyes and hands that were always moving. She had led more special operations missions than anyone else in the human military. Commander, I am about to give you the most important mission of your career, Park Dae said without greeting. But first tell me, if you knew everything about how your enemy planned to fight you, what would you do? Kim Tae did not hesitate. I would let them make the first move, then counter every tactic they used. Turn their own strengths into weaknesses. Exactly. Park Dae handed her the tablet. This contains complete intelligence on alien military doctrine. I want you to design training programs based on this information. We are going to teach our forces to fight like aliens expect them to, then surprise them with tactics they have never seen. Dr. Choi Min arrived next. He was an elderly man who had spent his life studying alien technology. The aliens had always been ahead of humans in science, but Dr. Choi had been slowly figuring out how their devices worked. Doctor, look at these weapon specifications, Park Dae said. Can our ships be modified to counter their tactics? Dr. Choi studied the data for several minutes. His eyes grew wider as he read. Admiral, this is incredible. They detail every vulnerability in their own systems. Yes, we can modify our ships, but more than that, we can build weapons specifically designed to exploit their weaknesses. The intelligence chief, Colonel COJ, was the last to arrive. He was a suspicious man who trusted nothing and no one. Park Dae liked that about him. Colonel, what do you think? Park Dae asked, showing him the intelligence report. SEOJ read for a long time without speaking. Finally, he looked up. Admiral, I have checked this against our combat records. Every alien tactic described here matches something we have seen in battle. The ship specifications match sensor readings from destroyed alien vessels. The psychological profiles explain behavior patterns we could not understand before. He paused, then added, This intelligence is real. And if it is real, then we have just gained the greatest military advantage in human history. Park Dae gathered his staff around the conference table. On the wall screen, he displayed a map of human space. Red dots showed alien fleet positions. The aliens were massing for what looked like a final attack on the remaining human colonies. According to this intelligence, the aliens are planning to end the war in one massive assault, Park Dae explained. They have been training their officers for months, using our colonies as practice targets. Now they think they are ready for the final battle. He touched a button and the display changed, showing alien fleet movements. But they have made one critical error. They assume we will fight the same way we always have. They have planned counters to every human tactic they have observed. But they have never seen humans who know their plans in advance. Commander Kim Tae leaned forward. Admiral, what are your orders? Park Dae stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human ships moved between the space stations like schools of metal fish. These ships and their crews were all that stood between humanity and extinction. We implement Protocol Mirror, Park Dae said. We take every alien tactic and turn it back on them. We use their own strategies against them. We make them fight an enemy they have never trained to face. Humans who think like aliens. Dr. Choi Min raised his hand. Admiral, how long do we have? According to the intelligence, the alien graduation ceremony is in 2 weeks. They will attack immediately afterward. So we have 2 weeks to completely change how humanity fights this war. Colonel COJ whistled softly. 2 weeks to retrain our entire military. That is impossible. No, Park Dae said firmly. It is just very, very difficult. But we are humans. Doing impossible things is what we do best. For the next 2 weeks, every human military base worked around the clock. Using Lee Jun's intelligence, human engineers modified their ships with new weapons and defenses. Human pilots learned to fly in alien formations. Human Marines practiced alien boarding tactics. Most importantly, human commanders learned to think like aliens thought humans would never think. The changes were dramatic. Human ships that had always fought in loose formations learned to move, like alien battle groups. Human weapons that had been designed for direct assault were modified for the subtle tactics aliens used. Human soldiers who had been trained to be aggressive learned when to retreat and when to advance. But the most important change was psychological. For months, human forces had felt like they were fighting an enemy they could not understand. The aliens always seemed to know what humans would do next. It was terrifying and demoralizing. Now, suddenly, humans knew everything about their enemy. They knew alien weaknesses, alien fears, alien blind spots. The feeling of helplessness disappeared, replaced by cold confidence. Admiral Park Day stood on the bridge of his flagship, the HSS New Seoul, as the alien fleet approached Proxima Sector. His ships were arranged in a formation that looked exactly like what aliens expected from humans, a defensive wall protecting the civilian colonies behind them. But this time, the formation was a trap. Admiral, alien fleet entering weapons range, reported Captain Lebo from the sensor station. Park Day smiled. After months of losing battles, humanity was finally going to fight an enemy that did not know what was coming. All ships prepare to implement Protocol Mirror, Park Day ordered. Today we teach the aliens what it feels like to be surprised. On his tactical display, thousands of red dots representing alien ships moved toward the blue dots of the human fleet. The aliens were confident, following the same battle plan they had practiced hundreds of times. They had no idea that this time, the humans had studied their lesson plan. Fleet Commander Zektar felt confident as his armada approached the Proxima Sector. His flagship, the dreadnought Void Render, was the largest warship ever built by his people. Behind him followed 3,000 alien vessels, crewed by the finest, graduates of the military academy. Today would be the day the humans finally died. Status report, Zektar commanded from his throne-like captain's chair. Sub-Commander Thrix, one of Veltar's former students, checked his instruments. Human fleet detected ahead, approximately 800 vessels in standard defensive formation. They are protecting the civilian colonies, exactly as predicted. Zektar's 4 eyes glowed with pleasure. Perfect. The humans are doing exactly what we trained them to do. Implement Battle Plan 7 Alpha. We will crush their defensive line, then destroy the colonies behind them. The alien fleet moved into attack formation. They had practiced this maneuver hundreds of times. First, they would use their speed advantage to outflank the human defensive line. Then they would concentrate their firepower on the weakest human ships. Finally, they would break through and attack the helpless civilian targets. It was a perfect plan. It had worked in every simulation. Captain Ojin watched the alien fleet approach on his ship's main screen. As commander of the destroyer HSS Tiger's Claw, he was part of the human fleet's left wing. According to the alien battle plan that Lee Jun had provided, this was where the aliens would make their main attack. Captain, aliens are moving into flanking position, reported his tactical officer Lieutenant Baesun Ojin nodded. Right on schedule. Signal the fleet, begin mirror protocol in 3, 2, 1 now. What happened next had never occurred in any alien simulation. The human defensive line suddenly broke apart. Instead of staying in their protective formation, the human ships scattered in all directions, but they did not scatter randomly. They moved in perfect alien attack formations using tactics that no human force had ever employed before. On the alien flagship, alarms started ringing. What are they doing? Zektar demanded. This is not how humans fight. Sub-Commander Thrix stared at his screens in confusion. Sir, the human ships they are moving like us. Those formations, I recognize them from our own tactical manual. Before Zektar could respond, the human fleet struck. Captain Ojin's destroyer led a group of human ships in a maneuver called the Crushing Claw, an alien tactic designed to trap enemy vessels between overlapping fields of fire. But instead of using it against humans, the humans were using it against the aliens who had invented it. Fire all weapons, Ojin commanded. The Tiger's Claw and its companion ships opened fire with everything they had. But these were not the same human weapons the aliens had studied. Dr. Choi Min's modifications had changed their frequency patterns and power settings to exploit specific weaknesses in alien shields. The alien ships on the left flank found themselves caught in a perfect crossfire. Their shields, designed to stop human weapons, failed against modified human weapons that hit them in frequencies they could not block. 3 alien cruisers exploded in the first volley. On another part of the battlefield, Lieutenant An So led a boarding party against an alien battleship. The aliens had taught their students that humans always tried to board alien ships through the main airlocks, and they had placed all their defenses there. But An-So had listened to the same lessons. Li Jun had heard. She knew that alien ships had weak points in their engine sections, places where the armor was thin and the defenses were light. Her assault shuttle cut through the alien hull like a knife through paper. Her Marines poured into the alien ship before the defenders knew what was happening. Move fast, hit hard, no mercy, An-So ordered as her team raced through the alien corridors. This was another lesson from the Academy. Aliens were vulnerable to rapid assault because they took time to coordinate their responses. The alien crew barely had time to sound an alarm before the humans reached the bridge. In less than 10 minutes, one of the most powerful ships in the alien fleet had fallen to a force of 20 human Marines. Major Baek-do commanded a squadron of human fighters that were attacking the alien flagship. The aliens had taught their students that human pilots were emotional and would make mistakes when their friends were killed. So the aliens always tried to destroy a few human ships first, to make the other pilots angry and careless. But Baek-do used this alien tactic against them. He ordered 2 of his pilots to fly their damaged fighters directly at the alien flagship, making it look like desperate suicide attacks. The alien defenders focused all their attention on stopping these emotional human pilots, while the aliens were distracted. Baek-do led the rest of his squadron in a careful, precise attack on the flagship's weapon systems. The aliens never saw them coming. Within minutes, the mighty dreadnought Void Render was helpless, its guns destroyed by the very human emotionalism it had been designed to exploit. The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first 10 minutes. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy they had never trained to face. Humans who used alien tactics better than the aliens themselves. Every move the aliens made had been studied and countered. Every tactic they tried was one that humans had learned from Li Jun's intelligence. Every strategy they implemented was met by a human counter-strategy designed specifically to defeat it. Sub-Commander Thrix stared at his tactical display in horror. Half the alien fleet was gone. The other half was scattered and confused, their formation broken, their battle plan in ruins. "How is this possible?" he whispered. Fleet Commander Zektar had no answer. His perfect plan, developed over months of study and practice, had become a disaster. The humans were not fighting like humans at all. They were fighting like aliens, but better. "Sir," Thrix said urgently, "I recommend we retreat. We cannot win this battle." Zektar wanted to refuse, but he was a military commander, not a fool. The battle was lost. If he stayed, his entire fleet would be destroyed. "All ships withdraw immediately," he ordered. But even the retreat went badly. The humans had studied alien withdrawal procedures and were ready for them. Human ships positioned themselves along every escape route. Alien vessels trying to flee found themselves ambushed by humans who knew exactly where they would go. By the end of the day, less than half the alien fleet escaped. 3,000 ships had been reduced to fewer than 1,000. The greatest military force ever assembled by the alien confederation had been crushed by a human fleet 1/4 its size. On New Seoul Station, Admiral Park Dae received the battle, reports with quiet satisfaction. The first phase of Protocol Mirror had been a complete success, but he knew this was just the beginning. "Send a message to all human fleets," Park Dae ordered. "The aliens are retreating to their home systems. Follow them. Use every tactic we learned from the intelligence data. Show them what happens when humans stop being predictable." In his cell on Nexus Prime, Li Jun felt the building shake as human ships began landing outside. He had heard the guards talking in panicked voices about the great defeat at Proxima Sector. The alien military academy had been closed and all. The instructors were being questioned about how the humans had learned their secrets. Li Jun smiled in the darkness. His message had been received. His people had used the intelligence well. Now it was almost time for him to go home. But first, he had one more lesson to give. The aliens had taught him much about warfare. Now it was his turn to teach them something about humans. Outside his window, he could see human Marines advancing toward the research facility. The tables were about to turn completely. The crystal walls of the classroom no longer gleamed. Emergency lights cast red shadows across the room where Instructor Veltar stood before his remaining students. Half the chairs were empty now. Many of his cadets had died in the Great Defeat. At Proxima Sector, Veltar looked older than his years. His metal arm sparked occasionally, damaged in the retreat from the human counterattack. His scaled face showed confusion and fear, emotions he had never felt before. "How?" Cadet Crix asked, for the 100th time. His bug-like eyes were dim with shock. "How did they know our tactics? How did they counter every move we made?" Before Veltar could answer, the classroom door opened. Human soldiers in battle armor entered, their weapons ready, but not pointed at anyone. Behind them walked a figure that made Veltar's blood turn cold. It was Corporal Li Jun. He looked thinner than when he had been captured, but his eyes were bright and alert. He wore a clean human uniform and walked with the confident stride of a soldier who knew he had won. "Instructor Veltar," Li Jun said politely. "Thank you for all the excellent lessons. I learned so much from your classes." The alien instructor stared at the human in disbelief. You were listening?" "Every word," Li Jun confirmed. He walked to the front of the classroom and stood where Veltar usually taught. "For 3 months I sat in my cell and heard you explain exactly how you planned to destroy my people. You were very thorough. You covered every weakness you thought humans had, every tactic you planned to use, every strategy you considered. Perfect." Cadet Neth made a wet, gasping sound. "The ventilation system. Sound travels through the building." Li Jun nodded. "Very good. You are learning to think like a human, always looking for unexpected solutions." He turned to address the entire class. "Your instructor taught you that humans are predictable, that we always react the same way to the same situation. Do you still believe that?" The alien students said nothing. They were too shocked to speak. "Let me tell you what really happened," Li Jun continued. "You spent months planning the perfect attack against humanity. You studied our weaknesses, developed counters to our tactics, and trained your officers to exploit our emotions. You thought you had created an unbeatable strategy." He walked between the rows of alien students, just as Veltar had done so many times before. "But you made one critical error. You assumed humans could never learn your methods. You thought we were too primitive, too emotional, too stupid to understand your superior tactics." Li Jun stopped in front of Veltar. "You were wrong about everything." The alien instructor's metal eye flickered. "But we studied you for years. We knew how humans fight. We prepared for every possible response." "You prepared for the humans you expected to face," Li Jun corrected. "But you never prepared for humans who had studied you just as carefully. You taught your students that human adaptability was a weakness because it made us unpredictable. You never considered that our adaptability might be our greatest strength." He turned back to the class. "Let me give you a lesson about humans. When we encounter a superior enemy, we do not just try to match their strength. We study them. We learn from them. We take their own weapons and turn them against them." Cadet Crix raised a shaking arm. "But how did you get our battle plans to your people?" Li Jun smiled. "I had help from Dr. Yoon Hana. She is a human scientist who has been studying your technology. Together we built a transmitter and sent all your tactical information to human command. Your entire military doctrine, your ship specifications, your psychological profiles. We gave it all to my people." The classroom fell silent except for the hum of emergency power systems. The alien students began to understand the magnitude of their defeat. "Your Admiral Park Day used our intelligence to implement something called Protocol Mirror," Li Jun continued. "Every tactic you used against humans, we turned around and used against you. Every weakness you thought we had, we turned into a strength. Every strategy you considered perfect, we made into a trap." He gestured toward the window, where human ships could be seen landing at the research facility. "Your fleet has been destroyed. Your colonies are surrendering. Your military academy is closed. In 6 months, you went from planning the extinction of humanity to facing the collapse of your own empire." Veltar slumped in his chair. "We underestimated you." "Yes," Li Jun agreed. "You made the same mistake that many species have made when fighting humans. You assumed that because we are younger and less technologically advanced, we must be inferior. You confused different with lesser. He walked to the hologram projector and activated it. Instead of showing alien battle plans, it now displayed footage of human ships using alien tactics against alien fleets. Watch this, Li Jun said. This is Captain Oh Jin leading a crushing claw formation against your left flank at Proxima. He learned that maneuver from listening to your lessons. This is Lieutenant An. So using rapid assault boarding techniques that she heard you describe in class. This is Major Baek. Do exploiting the psychological weaknesses you thought all humans had. The alien students watched their own tactics being used against them with devastating effectiveness. It was like watching a master class in how to defeat their own people. But the most important lesson, Li Jun said, is not about tactics or technology. It is about assumptions. You assumed that humans would always fight the same way. You assumed we could not change. You assumed our adaptability was a weakness instead of recognizing it as our greatest asset. Cadet Neth spoke up quietly. What happens to us now? Li Jun considered the question. That depends on what you choose to learn from this experience. Some of your people will continue to see humans as enemies and will keep fighting. They will lose because they refuse to adapt. Others will recognize that cooperation is better than destruction. He gestured toward Veltar. Your instructor could return to teaching, but instead of teaching students how to destroy humans, he could teach them how to work with humans. We have much to learn from each other. Veltar looked up with his one good eye. Why would humans work with us after everything we have done? Because that is what humans do, Li Jun replied. We adapt, we forgive. We find ways to turn enemies into allies. It is one of our most dangerous qualities, and one of our most valuable ones. A human officer entered the classroom and saluted Li Jun. Corporal, Admiral Park Day's compliments. He requests your presence for the surrender negotiations. Li Jun nodded, then turned back to the alien class one final time. I want to thank you all, he said. By teaching your students how to defeat humans, you taught us how to defeat you. By studying our weaknesses, you helped us understand our strengths. By underestimating our ability to learn, you gave us the greatest military advantage in history. He headed toward the door, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. My capture was not accidental. Human intelligence identified this academy as a strategic target 2 years ago. My imprisonment here was a deep cover intelligence operation. We knew exactly what you were doing, and we planned accordingly. The alien student stared at him in shock. You see, Li Jun said with a final smile, humans are very good at appearing weak when we are actually strong. It is another one of our dangerous qualities. We let our enemies think they are winning right up until the moment we reveal that we have already won. He left the classroom, walking out into the bright alien sunlight where human ships waited to take him home. Behind him, Instructor Veltar sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the true nature of the species he had spent so long trying to destroy. In the months that followed, the Vorthak Military Academy was converted into a joint training facility. Veltar, humbled by his defeat, began teaching alien cadets and human officers to work together instead of fighting against each other. The war was over. Humanity had won not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the one advantage their enemies had never understood and could never match: the human ability to learn, adapt, and turn any situation to their advantage. And, in a small office in the former academy, Corporal Li Jun, now promoted to lieutenant, helped write the new curriculum for the next generation of officers, both human and alien, who would serve together in the peaceful galaxy that followed. The greatest lesson had been taught, the students had become the teachers, and the universe was a better place for it.